So, Namo Buddha to everyone, and we'll continue our discussion. We'll probably complete our discussion on the law, cause, and effect. So, we've already had 3 sessions on this subject. Actually, the discussion that we've had so far includes training that is common to both the small scope as well as the medium scope trainees. But predominantly the subject kind of falls under the training for the small scope trainees. So this is a subject that we will revisit later on when we discuss the training that is unique to the medium scope training, the middling scope trainees. Anyway, so what we've seen so far is the nature of karma, the various properties that characterize karma. And then in order to get a better understanding of karma, we also had a look at the different classifications of karma. So in today's session, we'll look at, we'll complete that discussion on the classifications of karma. And then we'll look at the results, the different kinds of results that one can expect from different kinds of karma. So there are different categories that we need to look at when we talk about the effects of karma. So there's the ripened result, there are the environmental results, and then there are the behavioral results. So we'll have a look at that, and we'll also have a look at how we can reverse the black karmic process and study its opposite, the white karmic process, and how that leads to accumulation of merit and virtue. And then we'll also have a look at the different kinds of determinants that influence the intensity of the results that accrue from karmic actions and the causes that lead to those kind of results. So we'll discuss that, and towards the end we'll discuss on how to modify one's behavior in order to ensure that we accumulate only virtuous karma and we engage in only meritorious actions. So before we proceed with the discussion, let's just do a short stabilization meditation. So we'll try and still our minds, calm our minds, and then do a short meditation to set the motivation for the session and generate the mind of enlightenment or bodhicitta. So you're all familiar with the process now. Just make sure that you have a proper posture. The 7-point Vairocana posture is ideal. If not, ensure that your back is erect and the shoulders are straight. And arms relaxed, left palm holding the right palm, tip of the tongue resting against the upper row of teeth. And you could have your eyes either half open or you could have them closed, whatever you prefer. And then just withdraw your mind, just pause all the chatter in your mind, pause all the chatter concerning your routine activities, and just remind yourself that you're going to discuss the law of karma today and study its classifications and effects. So just hold your mind on to that subject for a moment, and then we'll do a short anapanasati meditation or mindfulness of breath to stabilize our minds, help us with concentration. Okay, now just focus your mind on the area between the tip of your nose and the upper lip, and observe the sensations that you experience there. Bring the focus of your mind to your in-breath. Observe which nostril you're breathing through, and just observe the sensations that you experience in that nostril. Now turn the focus of your mind to your out breath and observe the sensations that you experience in the nostril through which you breathe out. Uh, Now let's just do a short counting meditation. So as you breathe in, you count 1, 1. As you breathe out, you count 2, 2, and so on till 10, and then repeat the process. So with your mind now concentrated sufficiently, you uh, remind yourself that in this birth, in this lifetime, we've been blessed with the 8 freedoms and the 10 endowments. Uh, and just remind yourself of the 8 freedoms and the 10 endowments. Uh, Remind yourself that you're fortunate to have been reborn as a human and have been blessed with these 8 freedoms and the 10 endowments. Now, while we are fortunate to have these 8 freedoms and the 10 endowments in this lifetime, uh, it's not certain that we'll uh, have access to these freedoms and endowments forever. At the time of death, we will be separated from these freedoms and endowments. And the timing of death is not certain. It's possible that our life force is taken away today or tomorrow. It's quite possible. Uh, and that being the case, it's uh, in we can't be certain that in our future lifetime we'll be born as humans in the human realm and be blessed with these freedoms and endowments. It's more likely that because of the negative karma that we have from the past, uh, we end up in one of the lower miserable realms. And there's a lot of suffering we know in the lower realms. So we should ask ourselves whether we are willing to endure the suffering in the lower realms. Assuming that you're fortunate to be reborn even in our next lifetime as a human or as a deva, as a god, we know that there's a lot of suffering even in these realms. In the human realm, there's the suffering of birth, there's the suffering of aging, illness, dying, and a lot of mental suffering through anxiety, frustration, depression. A lot of these mental problems lead to a lot of suffering. And even in the God realms, there's suffering towards the end of our lives. So there's no place in samsara which is free of suffering. We can't trust samsara at all. There's nowhere, no place where we can be relieved from suffering. That being the case, and the fact that we have this human form and this human intelligence through which we can discriminate and understand the flaws of samsara and the benefits of liberation from samsara. We should all aspire for complete liberation from the cycle of suffering in samsara. But individual liberation is not good enough. We should aspire for liberation for all sentient beings. So all sentient beings have been related to us, just like the mother of our life, this lifetime. All sentient beings have been our mother at some point or the other in the past. And hence, just like we wish and aspire for happiness of our mother of this lifetime, we should aspire, we should pray for, wish for happiness of all sentient beings who have been our mothers from the past, in the past. So we should all aspire for liberation of all sentient beings. And the best way to deliver on that aspiration is to develop a capacity to help other sentient beings in the pursuit of liberation. And only a completely enlightened Buddha has that capacity. So we should all aim to attain that state of complete enlightenment. Now, we need some assistance in our pursuit towards the state of complete enlightenment. So we turn to the three jewels, the Buddha, who showed us the path to complete enlightenment, the Dharma, which is the actual path, and it also includes the truth of cessations, and the Sangha, who assist us on this path towards complete enlightenment, who guide us on this path. So these are the three sources, these are the three jewels that we should seek refuge in, seek assistance in, seek help from. So let's all do a short refuge prayer to reassert our faith and take refuge in the three jewels. So just a short refuge prayer. You can recite Namo Gurubhya Namo Buddha Namo Dharma Namo Sangha Namo Gurubhya Namo Buddha Namo Dharma Namo Sangha Namo Gurubhya Namo Buddha Namo Dharma Namo Sangha. Let's also recite the Bodhicitta prayer. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the three jewels, the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By my practice of giving and the other five perfections, may I become a completely enlightened Buddha to benefit all sentient beings. So these are the things that we've been looking at so far to understand the law of karma. So we've seen the nature, the properties that characterize karma. We've seen the different parts of karma that it operates through, the different paths that karma operates through. So the three doors of body, speech, and mind. And then we'd also looked at the 10 non-virtues that lead to negative karma that we should refrain from engaging in. So there are the 3 non-virtuous actions of body, 4 of speech, and the 3 non-virtuous actions of mind. So those are the 10 non-virtues that we should refrain from engaging in. And then to get a better understanding of karma, we'd also seen at the different classifications of karma. And we'll wind up our discussion on the classifications of karma. Just there was a question towards the end of our session last session. So it pertains to one of the classifications of karma. So we'll have a look at that. It will also help us clarify some concepts related to that category of that classification of karma. And then we'll have a look at the different results, the different categories of results that accrue from different kinds of karma. And then we'll look at how we can use the white karmic process to attain special rebirth, and also look at how we can modify our own conduct and purify some of our negative karma from the past. So let's just look at the classifications of karma. So we've seen most of them. So there's one classification that is very important. So the classification of karma in terms of the causes that create those karmas. So we've seen that there are 3 ways to understand that category, that classification. So there's the cause of karma could be contaminated, could be uncontaminated, and could be neither contaminated nor uncontaminated. And it's the contaminated karma that we need to understand, because that will help us understand the process of ensuring that we do not engage in non-virtuous activities, non-virtuous conduct in the future. The uncontaminated karma and the karma that is neither contaminated nor uncontaminated pertains to sentient beings or beings, practitioners who are slightly evolved, who have higher realizations. So contaminated karma can be understood by way of the function that it delivers, by the mode of manifestation, as in whether it manifests in this lifetime or the next lifetime, or the lifetimes subsequent to that, or it does not manifest at all. And the mode of experience, meaning whether it yields a pleasant experience or unpleasant experience or a neutral experience. And by way of RAM, meaning whether the karma leads to birth in either the desire RAM or as a god in the lower, in the first, second, or the third absorption states of the form RAM, or in the fourth plane of the form RAM, and the 4 formless level, the 4 planes in the formless RAM. So we had a brief look at that. So there's just one point that I wanted to clarify. There was a question pertaining to this classification. So classification according to the karma's cause. So based on the cause that leads to that karma, the karma could be classified as either contaminated, uncontaminated, or karma that is neither contaminated nor uncontaminated. And so we've seen that karma essentially is a mental factor. And what kind of mental factor? So there's the main mind and the mental factor. So the mental factor of intention is what is identified as karma. So based on the function that the karma delivers, karma could be classified either as propelling or impelling karma, or establishing karma, or completing karma. So what do we mean by impelling karma? So karma that can potentially issue forth the entity of a karmic fruitional ripening or a ripened result in the form of in the shape of a form. Let's say if the person has created the karma to be reborn as human, then the ripened result is the human form. So the impelling karma that leads to this ripened result of human form. So what exactly is that? So the example mentioned here is uh, the compositional factors link, or the second link in the 12 links of dependent origination. So the 12 links of dependent origination is a concept that we'll explore in detail in one of our later sessions. But I'll just give you a brief idea of what these 12 links of dependent origination are, because we need to kind of have some grasp of those links to understand what these three kinds of karma imply or what they refer to. So anyways, the second link of the 12 links of dependent origination is an example of impelling karma. And then there is the establishing karma. So the impelling karma it can potentially issue forth the ripened result of, for example, a human form, human rebirth. But although it can potentially issue, there's no certainty, there's no pervasion that it will issue forth the ripened result. So that karma needs to be worked on further. It needs to be nourished further, so that it uh, reaches a stage where it is certain to issue forth the ripened result of a human form, for example. So that karma, which is certain to issue forth the ripened result of a human form or a god form or whatever form you're going to take in the next rebirth, that is called the established karma. So that is the 10th link in the 12 links of dependent origination. So just in a moment, we'll have a look at the 12 links of dependent origination, and some of these things will become clearer to you. And then there's the completing karma. So karma that variously brings forth either pleasure or suffering, or it leads, or it ensures that you have abundant resources in the future, or you're deprived of resources in the future. So there's the ripened result, the human form that you get in the next rebirth, for example, through the activity, through the action of impelling karma and establishing karma. But even as a human, you could be born as a rich human or a poor human. You could be born as a healthy human or a human who is afflicted with all kinds of illnesses. So that state of either being rich or poor, or healthy or unhealthy, that is determined by the completing karma. So that is the function of the completing karma. So karma that variously brings forth pleasure, suffering, prosperity, or misery to the ripened bodily basis, that is impelled or propelled or projected by the projecting, impelling karma, and that is established by the establishing karma. So these are the 12 links of dependent origination. So the Buddha explained this concept in order to highlight the process of birth, death, and then rebirth. So there are these 12 links, and each of these links kind of belong to different categories of links. So you could understand these links in terms of links that are projecting some result, links that are the projected effect of those projecting links, and links that are actualizing factors, and links that are the effect of the actualizing factors. So they are the actualized factors. So the circle starts with ignorance, and then compositional factors, consciousness. So these are the projecting factors. And then there are the 4.5 projected factors of name and form, the 6 senses, contact, and feeling. And then you talk about the actualizing factors of craving, grasping, and becoming. and then the actualized factors of rebirth, aging, and death. So we've seen that impelling karma is the second link in the 12 links of dependent origination. So the link of compositional factors. So it carries this link is can potentially issue forth a ripened result, like a human form in the next rebirth. So the compositional factors then kind of plants a seed on the stream of consciousness. So the consciousness holds that potency. And then towards the end of our lives, the factors of craving and grasping, they nourish this seed that is planted in a stream of consciousness that holds the potency for a new rebirth. So craving and grasping, there would be specific kind of craving, there could be a specific kind of grasping. For example, if it's about if the new rebirth is going to be human, then you crave for a human form, you grasp at a human form, and that nourishes the seed or the potency for a human form, for rebirth as a human, that would have been planted in the past, not essentially in this necessarily in this lifetime, could be from one of the previous lifetimes. So these two factors, craving and grasping, nourish this seed and bring it to the point that it is ready to project a new rebirth. So the factors of craving and grasping, the 8th and the 9th link in the 12 links of dependent origination, they lead to this 10th factor, 10th link, the link of becoming. So when the link of becoming, at this stage, you're ready. The seed is nourished and it is ready to project a new rebirth. So second link and the third and the 10th link, these are the impelling karma is the second link, and the 10th link is the establishing karma. So second link and the 10th link. So the 10th link then projects a new rebirth, and then that leads to the 11th and the 12th links. So with rebirth, then your process of aging and dying gets initiated. And then at the point of death, again, this form ceases and a new form is projected. So the 10th and the second links is what we need to understand here. Impelling factor, the impelling karma being the second link, and the projecting and the establishing karma being the 10th link, or link of becoming. So just to clarify this process a little more, so there are the projecting factors, as we had seen. There are the 12 links could be grouped into four categories. There's a category of the projecting factors. There's the category of the actualizing factors. There's the category of the projected factors or the results. So here in this figure, you would notice that there are two boxes on the right. So these are the result. So the results are the projected factors and the actualized factors. So so the process begins with ignorance. So you have ignorance of emptiness or ignorance of suchness, and then you haven't cleared this ignorance, but you still engage in a lot of virtuous activities, and you accumulate a lot of meritorious karma. And the meritorious karma plants a seed on the causal consciousness, the third link in the 12 links. So this kind of completes the activities of the projecting factors. So this karmic seed that is planted in the causal consciousness is nourished by the 8th and the 9th link, the link of craving and grasping. So toward the end of the life, this seed that has been planted on your stream of consciousness sometime in the past, could be some previous lifetime, could be this lifetime also, that comes forth and it is nourished by the factors of craving and grasping. So what is craving? So here we are taking the example for rebirth as a god. So the person thinks, oh, it would be nice to be reborn as a god. And that craving becomes more intense to the point that he starts grasping at rebirth as a god. So the person says, I want to be reborn as a god. He thinks, I want to be reborn as a god. So there's this desire that manifests in his mind stream. Desire is an affliction, attachment is an affliction. So there's this attachment to rebirth as a god that manifests in the person's mind stream that is nourishing this seed, karmic seed, uh, planted in his stream of consciousness. So with the activity of the eighth and the ninth link, the karmic seed tendency that okay, so um, the projected factors and actualized factors are the results of the activity of the projecting factors and the actualizing factors. So if you're reborn as a god, this flow chart indicates the how the process flows for uh, rebirth as a god. So you'd have the form of a god and these senses that are unique to a god, and then the links of contact and feeling, and also the process of uh, his rebirth and aging, his or her rebirth and aging and death would begin. So the second link is the impelling factor, and the 10th link is the establishing factor, establishing karma. So Nicole had a question in our last session. So let me just bring up that question. So she was asking about bodhisattvas intentionally bringing up cognitive obscurations in the mind to bring them back to samsara. So we were discussing the three categories of karma. So there's the category of contaminated karma, uncontaminated karma, and karma that is neither contaminated nor uncontaminated. So this is the slide that we'd seen in our last session. So here I'd mentioned that karma, of course, is the mental factor of intention. So we're talking about uncontaminated karma. And the example given here is that of cognitive obscuration. So you know from our discussions in the past that there are two kinds of obscurations that that impede our progress, our spiritual progress. So there's the afflictive obscurations, and then there are the cognitive obscurations. So in order for you to be liberated from samsara, you need to clear away the afflictive obscurations. But in order to become a completely enlightened Buddha, you need to also clear away the cognitive obscurations on top of the afflictive obscurations. So that being the case, and here the slide mentions that the hearer and the solitary realizer, four destroyers, who seek a rebirth in the pure lands, they rely on this uncontaminated karma. What is the uncontaminated karma? The karma that is issued by cognitive obscuration instead of being issued by an affliction. So you've seen the 12 links of the dependent origination. The first link is the link of ignorance. So ignorance, that circle kind of illustrates the process through which your new birth is projected. And at the start of that process is the link of ignorance, which is an afflictive obscuration. So afflictive obscuration, the affliction acts as a motivation for a motivated karmic action, which is the second link, the compositional factor. And then that compositional factor plants a seed on the stream of consciousness, the causal consciousness. So that was the impelling karma, the second link. So for a hearer or a solitary realizer, four destroyer, who is cleared away, hearer and a solitary realizer, four destroyer, has cleared away all the afflictive obscurations. So for in an ordinary being's case, for an ordinary sentient being, a new rebirth is projected through the activity of the link of ignorance and the compositional factor, and then that being nurtured by the factors of craving and grasping to bring forth the link of becoming, the establishing karmas. So that is the normal process. But now for arhant, a hearer arhant or a solitary realizer arhant, they do not have any afflictions left in their mind stream. They've cleared away all the afflictions. And they're abiding in this absorption state, and they seek a rebirth in one of the pure Buddha lands. So what they would still need some sort of a propelling factor. They would still need some sort of a projecting factor. So since they do not have any afflictive obscurations in their mind stream, they invoke an imprint, which is a cognitive obscuration. So they still have cognitive obscurations in the mind stream. The cognitive obscurations have not been cleared away from the mind stream. So they invoke the cognitive obscuration, based on which the projecting karma comes forth, and the projecting karma then leads to rebirth in the pure lands. So this happens because they have to rely on the cognitive obscurations in the form of an imprint or in the form of some sort of a latency. They have to rely on it because they do not have any manifest afflictive obscurations in the mind stream. That all those have been cleared away. They've cleared away attachment, jealousy, pride, hatred. All those have been cleared away, and they've also cleared away afflictive obscurations in the nature of ignorance, delusion. Now, similarly, a bodhisattva who is already abiding in a pure land, he wants to take rebirth in some realm, in some samsaric realm, maybe let's say in the desire realm that we are part of right now. So the bodhisattva, so the process of being reborn in any realm, in the desire realm in this case, it needs that projecting factor. Ordinarily, that projecting factor is provided by the activity of ignorance and the compositional factors. the impelling karma. But in the Pure Land, the Pure Lands are free of any kind of suffering. So there's no what is called the truth of suffering in the Pure Lands. So the Bodhisattva cannot rely on some manifest affliction, because affliction is a form of suffering. Affliction belongs to the truth of the causes of suffering, the sources of suffering. So in the Pure Land, you do not have the truth of suffering, you do not have the truth of the sources of suffering. So both of these things are not present, they cannot exist in a Pure Land. But the Bodhisattva needs some projecting factor to take a rebirth in one of the samsaric realms, the desire realm, for example. So in that case, the Bodhisattva, and we are not talking about Arya Bodhisattvas here, ordinary Bodhisattvas also, they invoke this cognitive obscuration. They still have this cognitive obscuration in their mind stream. And then they invoke this cognitive obscuration, and that becomes the motivation factor that motivates the karmic action. The karmic karma is the mental factor of intention. So they generate these prayers that let me be reborn in one of the desire ram. The latency in the form of a cognitive obscuration comes forth. That is nurtured by this prayer. That is nurtured by the compassion. They are doing this through the force of compassion that exists in the mind stream. So compassion and the prayer, that nurtures this latency, and then that propels or projects the Bodhisattva into a new rebirth in one of the samsaric planes, in the desire realm, for example. So that's the reason why the Bodhisattvas have to rely on the cognitive obscurations for rebirth from Pure Land into the samsaric planes. So that was the question asked by Nicole. Hopefully that answers the question. If the question is still unanswered, then Nicole, maybe you can post a follow-up question on this, and I will take it up later. So let's just proceed with the discussion. So we covered till this. We covered all the different classifications of karma. We'd also seen karma that is neither contaminated nor uncontaminated. So this is essentially karma in the mind stream of a yogi who is abiding in meditative equipoise and who has a direct realization of emptiness. So while the main mind is realizing emptiness, and accompanying concurrent mental factor of intention that accompanies this main mind, that is the mental factor of intention is karma. So that karma is neither contaminated nor uncontaminated, some sort of neutral karma. So that is the third category. So contaminated karma, uncontaminated karma, and karma that is neither contaminated nor uncontaminated. And then we can have this these kind of permutations between exertion, as in you engage in some sort of karmic activity. Not all actions, karmic actions, or physical actions, physical exertions lead to accumulation of karma. So there's exertion and there's non-exertion, and there's accumulation of karma and non-accumulation of karma on the other side. So the example of a case of an instance where there is both exertion and accumulation of karma is the actions that are executed after prior contemplation. So let's say you execute the action of generosity. You engage in an act of generosity. You planned it, contemplated it, and you complete the deed. So the four factors that we've seen to complete any kind of karmic action, those are all completed, and that leads to accumulation of karma. An instance of non-accumulation of karma, even though there is exertion, would be actions committed through coercion by others, even though one is unwilling. So your superior asks you to say something nasty to your colleague. You do that, you don't have any intention to do it. So although there is exertion on your part, you engage in that physical action, there's no accumulation of karma. And then an example of non-exertion, meaning there's no physical action or verbal action on your part, but still it leads to accumulation of karma, would be where there's an authority that coerces someone else to take a life, for example. So in a war, a general asks soldiers to go and kill the enemy. So although the general is not physically himself responsible for taking a life, the soldier is doing it on the orders of the general. So the soldier is executing the deed. The general is not, but yet the general accumulates the karma of taking a life. And an instance of where there's no exertion as well as there's no accumulation of karma is mentally planning a killing but reversing the inclination later. So you do not complete the deed, you do not execute the deed, although you planned it maybe. So there's no completion of deed, as we had seen. The four doors of karmic action, the three doors of karmic actions, um, they all any karmic action needs the four factors for completion. There's the basis, then there's the intent, there's the deed, and then there's the culmination factor. So all those factors need to be completed to accumulate karma. So if you reverse your decision to kill and you do not execute the deed, then there's no accumulation of karma. So results of karma, three categories. There's the category of the ripened results. There's the category of results that are congruent with the cause, and then there are the environmental results. So ripened results for killing, for example, the non-virtue of killing. You see that in this table there are the 10 non-virtues. Those have been listed here. So whichever of these 10 non-virtues that you engage in, it will be a cause for rebirth in the lower miserable realms. So now what exact form of the ripened result it leads to, that one cannot say. It could be rebirth in hell, it could be rebirth as a hungry ghost, it could be rebirth as an animal. But the ripened result is going to be rebirth in one of the lower miserable realms. Results congruent with the cause can be understood in under two headings. There are experiences that are congruent with the cause, and there's behavior or conduct that is congruent with the cause. So if you engage in the act of killing, the experience that it leads to, that is congruent with the cause, because you shortened somebody else's life, it leads to shortening of your own life. And your own life would also be plagued by a lot of sickness and illness. So that is the experience that is congruent with the cause. The cause is having shortened somebody else's life, caused pain and suffering to somebody else, some other sentient being. So that is the cause. So the experience that you also experience that leads to is similar. Your life is shortened, you also experience a lot of pain and suffering through sickness and illness. And behavior that is congruent with cause. So right from your young days, from your childhood, you would have a liking for killing, taking somebody else's life. And the environmental results. So if, in case you fall sick, no matter what kind of medicine you take, no matter what food you take or drink you take, it has no power to cure your illness. So these are some of the environmental results that the non-virtuous action of killing leads to. Stealing, sexual misconduct, lying, divisive speech, harsh speech, idle gossip, and the three mental non-virtuous actions of covetousness, harmful intent, and wrong view. The ripened results, as I said, would be rebirth in the miserable realms. Which one can't be said with certainty. For stealing, the result congruent with the cause. So you've deprived somebody of his or her resources. So stealing would lead to a lack of possessions for yours in the future. You would be deprived of possessions. You would be deprived of resources. You may have to share your possession with others. And then the behavior that is congruent with the cause, you have a liking for stealing. So you enhance, you strengthen your disposition for taking things that are not given to you. So that is behavior congruent with the cause. And the environmental results, few crops of fruit, hail, frost, few possessions. So essentially, few crops of fruit may not be relevant for people like us who stay in urban environments. But the idea is that uh, unfavorable conditions, environmental conditions like hail and frost, or other unfavorable conditions would lead to us being deprived of our possessions. Sexual misconduct, the result congruent with the cause, experience is congruent with the cause, be unable to keep your followers or your spouse, and liking for similar misconduct would be the behavior congruent with the cause, and the environmental result would be that you would have to spend time in places that are absolutely filthy and muddy. Um, and these are things that are mentioned in the scripture. It's very difficult to uh, state the the exact reasons why these would be the results that would accrue to a person who's engaged in these kind of misdeeds. Um, so anyway, so the four non-virtuous actions of speech: lying, divisive speech, harsh speech, idle gossip. So lying would mean that mm, we would be our words when we utter our things, people would not be willing to believe us. And behavior that is congruent would be liking for lying, and we'll be surrounded by cheats. So that is the environmental results. Divisive speech, we'll be deprived of friends, we'll have no followers, and liking for divisive speech would be the behavior congruent with cause. Environmental results, again, very strange here. How to live in places where ground is uneven. Very specific again. Don't know why and how, but that's what the scriptures say. Have to live in places where ground is uneven. Harsh speech, others will speak ill of you, and liking for harsh words. These are the results congruent with the cause. And environment result is born in places with many tree stumps and brambles. Just like ground being uneven, the environment result is similar to the previous category. Idle gossip, your words will not carry enough weight. People won't be willing to uh, give enough weightage to your advice, your speech, and you will have a liking for gossip. Crops will fail and will be untimely. So here, the environment result would be that you engage in some sort of an economic or financial activity. Your income could be untimely, could not be steady. So that is the environment result. Covetousness, you will not achieve your aims. There will be increase in attachment, and all your pleasures will be overshadowed. So you may have some success, but your neighbors will have success that is even better than yours. And your success, your pleasure, the pleasure that you experience from your success will be overshadowed. Uh, Harmful intent, you will be terrified, you will be scared, and you will have this increase in hostility within yourself. And you will have to stay in environments characterized by a lot of conflict and war and sickness and famine. Wrong view, you will be blind to the right view, and there will be increase in delusion. And environment result would be that there will be few sources of water and precious things will dry up. So these are the environment results. Um, okay, so we've seen the black karmic process. Uh, the white karmic process is the opposite of the black karmic process, and how it stacks up is that you identify the 10 non-virtues, and then you refrain from doing these non-virtues by identifying the drawbacks of engaging in these non-virtues. And then that refrain also becomes stronger. That mindset becomes stronger to the point that you actually have the thought of abandoning those non-virtues, 10 non-virtues. And then ultimately, even this thought becomes stronger, and ultimately you decide to abandon these non-virtues. So that is the flow that you use in the white karmic process. So you take the example of taking a life. So let's say you're about to take the life of a sheep. So just like the non-virtuous actions of our body, speech, and mind that we had seen need the four factors of basis, motivation, deed, and culmination. Even the white karmic process activities would need these four. So in the case of the virtue of not killing, the basis would be, of course, you need a sentient being that is distinct from yourself. So in the case of the action of the virtue of not killing a sheep, the sheep would be the basis. The motivation is that you see the drawbacks of engaging in an action of killing. So you generate the motivation of not wanting to kill. So you want not to kill, and you think killing would not be right. And then the deed would be when the previous thought becomes stronger, and you see that the killing would be some sort of a misdeed, a misconduct. You refrain from it. So that would be the deed, refraining or foregoing the action of killing the sheep. And the final step would be you decide not to kill the sheep at all and completely refrain from killing the sheep. So that's how those four factors would come together, and the action, the virtue of not killing, would lead to white karma or some merit accruing to you. So the results of the white karmic process, just like we spoke of the results of the black karmic process, we can speak of the ripened results, results that are congruent with the cause, and environment results. So the ripened results in the case of abandoning the 10 non-virtues, it's the white karmic action. For higher virtues karma, it could lead to rebirth in as a form or a formless realm god. For medium virtues karma, it would lead to rebirth as a desire realm god. And for smaller virtues karma, it would lead to rebirth as a human. So these are the ripened results. And then the results that you experience that are congruent with the cause of abandoning the 10 non-virtues. Experiences congruent with the cause would be that you have longer life, you would have greater wealth, you would have harmony with your spouse, and because you do not engage in actions like divisive speech, harsh speech, etc., you would have people who would heed what you say, you would have harmony with your friends, and so on. And behavior congruent with the cause is that right from your younger days, from your childhood, from the time you were born, you would have some inclination towards these virtuous states of mental states of renunciation. You would be prone to engage in actions of compassion. So that would be behavior that is congruent with the cause of abandoning the 10 non-virtues. And the environmental results are the opposites of the environmental results that we just saw for the 10 non-virtues. So you'd have plentiful food, you'd have plentiful drink, you'd have medicine that is very effective in case you fall sick. So those are the environmental results that accrue to you if you abandon the 10 non-virtues. So there are a few things that we still need to look at. I think we've already overshot our prescribed time. So maybe we'll pause here. Some of you might have other engagements. So we'll pause here and we'll continue with our discussion in the subsequent session. Sorry about